I'm Stephanie Maslow Blackman, the CEO and owner of Metalicious.com. Welcome to my studio. Let's take a look inside and see how jewelry is made. It starts either with a little idea in my head. Sometimes it'll come to me in a dream, which is a little weird, but sometimes it'll be a texture or a fabric, or it could be some colors that I see together. Whatever kind of strikes me, and it comes out in jewelry. So the first thing that I like to do is take all of those images and textures and translate them into a sketch. And once I sketch and I work it out, I want to see the side view, I want to see the top view, I want to make sure that the settings are in the right place if I'm using stones. I want to make sure the texture is going to work on a piece. So what I'll do next is I'll go to my bench, my workbench. So let me put on my apron and you can join me. Welcome to my studio. Come on in, let me show you how we make our jewelry. The first step is carving the model, and that is the first piece, the original piece that all the other pieces will be made from. I use carving wax to create all of my models. I've been making jewelry for over 25 years, and it takes a lot of precision and time to make the model just right. The next step is to create the mold. I work with a family-owned casting company here in New York City to make my molds and castings. So what they'll do is they will take that original wax that I created and they will make a silicone mold of it. The mold comes apart so that you can inject wax into this and make as many copies of it as you'd like. So once they shoot the wax, they have an injecting machine that shoots the wax into the mold. You get an exact wax copy of your ring or your necklace, whatever it is you've made. So this, then they put on something called a tree, a wax tree that will be used for casting. So here's an example of the wax casting flask that has the wax tree inside. And this will be filled with plaster. The plaster will dry, and then they'll take this cap off the bottom and heat it up so that all of the wax drips out, but the plaster is still in place. So now you've got these cavities where this tree used to be. Then what they'll do is they'll flip this over, the plaster, and they will pour molten metal into the flask, which then creates a gold or a silver or a platinum version of this tree. Once the casting company has that metal tree, they'll clip off each piece and send me my little raw metal casting of the piece that I created. So let's go over to my metal bench and I'll show you what I do next. So here at the metal bench, I use my saw, my jeweler's saw, to saw off the sprue. That was the place where the metal entered into the cavity to create my little ring. At the metal bench, I use lots of different tools to craft the ring into the shape that I want it, the finished shape. So I use things like files. I will use a flex shaft that has different bits. It kind of works like a dentist drill. So I can make holes, or I can make grooves, or I can really get into a finer finish for the ring that I'm working on. This is my soldering station. This is where if I have an earring back or an earring post that needs to be connected to the earring, this is where I'll do that work. The final step is polishing, and I have a polishing machine that helps me get all of the pieces nice and bright and shiny. So I do all of this out of my studio that is located in Chelsea in New York City. It's a few blocks from the Flatiron Building, which is one of my favorite architectural buildings in New York City. And I love going there and just getting inspired by it, not just because it's an interesting shape, it's in the shape of a triangle, but because it has lots of beautiful textures on it. It's a very sculptural building when you get up close. so I get very inspired by my surroundings. So it's great to have a studio here in New York because I have so much to draw from. Thank you for coming on the tour of my Metalicious jewelry studio. I hope you learned a little bit about how fine jewelry is made here in New York City. You can visit me online at www.metalicious.com, or I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Metalicious Jewelry. I'd love to see you there. Bye.